Give thanks to life for your key. You know it go already, you know.
Give thanks for life, health, and strength, as the reading Ross would say, right? Respect to the one, Kwasi. We are here again, Ballhead and the Dread. And we give thanks for everyone tuning in. Fire, what are we reasoning about today?
Well, today, reason about the education system, right? You know, most people always said the education system is broken, but from our perspective, we feel like the education system is doing what it's set out to do. So we really want to dig into that still, you know?
And that's a statement that I really dislike when people say the education system is broken. Fire, the education system works perfectly. It works as it's intended. It's extremely efficient and has been extremely successful. Many times they talk about, you know, the performance of our specifically Black boys, right? Because people are struggling, but they do better than the boys. The question I would ask is, if we gathered every young Black male in the hood or the ghetto or inner city, tier 1 schools, what you want to say, and they all graduated from college, where would they work? So would you rather have an uneducated, angry population, or would you rather have an educated, angry population? I think an educated, angry population is way more dangerous than an uneducated, angry population.
I remember say if a population is educated and angry in a sense, and you know the education is a thing we give direction, you know. So the revolution that you talk about.
All right,
is upright.
You get what I'm saying? Because one, they would better understand their situation. They would have a deeper frustration saying, hey, I actually did all the right things and I'm educated, but they can clearly see that the opportunity isn't there from a systematic standpoint compared to they just disqualified because they don't have the skills and talent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, another thing we want to bring out too, in regards to the system working perfectly, you have so many programs that benefit off of dysfunction. They need dysfunction to get funding, right? And the program that they have, the mission statement is to reduce underperformance. So let's use the word, I can't use the word dysfunction because it won't. I'm trying to use an umbrella word for this conversation. Just say underperformance, right? Their mission is to decrease underperformance in a specific demographic, both in geographic and population. Now, if they were to actually decrease or increase the performance, they wouldn't qualify for funding. So you see the problem now we run into. Your mission statement is to increase performance, but if the performance of the group you're trying to cater to increases, they won't qualify for the funding.
Yeah, I remember say with this whole concept of like capitalism, right? Everything is career driven. So even the people who look like them have a role where supposedly for organize and centralize certain things and improve certain form of dysfunctionalities where them so the system bring forward. It's a job. So it creates a career opportunity. So most of these non-profits where it's a benefit. There's always a tie towards a set corporation. I remember, you know, regardless of how deep a corporation want get or unethical a corporation want get, they have something written in law that is called a corporate social responsibility. Now, the corporate social responsibility that these companies have are tied back towards majority of these non-profit organizations. So while people always see some of these non-profit organizations and feel like that's the way of end all of these things. And mind you, I'm not talking about a non-profit organization with some grassroots people who actually want to do something, some form of community development and want to see change. Yeah. But we're talking about these non-profit organizations who connected towards the education system, and it's like an offshoot of the education system, so placing funds from within that system towards for them organization. Most people really not understand said it's not really a benefit towards the system per se, but it's just to maintain the status quo regardless. And while you might have, but the thing with politics, and most people don't understand, politician always have to do good, you know.
Big time.
So there's always some form of good who have to come out of most of these organizations, and them have a one and two model examples who them use and push forward. Say, oh, this program is working, it's enhancing, and this is the way to go to help the education level rise to a particular manner. You see me?
Far right, you brought up a great point before I get to the next topic in regards to showing something good. And a lot of times the thing that they show is good is fudged. It's inaccurate. It's fake data. I've seen that for myself. Because how can you have schools out there, I've experienced this personally, but you have schools out there that have 90% graduation rate, right? Now listen to this, Far right. You have a 90% graduation rate, right? But you'll have like a 10% retention rate for college, meaning that you have a 90%, let me clarify this. You have a 90% graduation rate, right? You may have an 80% college entry rate, but you have a 10% retention rate after first semester. Or you have a 90% graduation rate, but at that 90%, 70% of the kids on the 4th, 6th grade reading level. So how did they graduate high school during the 4th, 6th grade reading level?
And so push them through the system to make sure say them can have some form of stats for back up the stats. I see them things all the while. Because remember, say the same system we go through and know people in the same system.
You get what I'm saying? So, and that's the hustle. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen in the suburban and affluent areas, because that's the other myth that's taking place in regards to there's some greater higher performance. What I notice is that there's more resources for support, and there's more resources to hide the low performance. And when I say by that, I mean access to certain things, like you may have, not all people, but you may have access to certain things due to your social capital, right? Another thing we want to talk about in regards to this, the system working perfectly, is the prison population. We don't talk enough how much our nation is dependent on the prison industrial complex. It's a needed part of the economy at this point. Because if you were to take that out of the economy, how many people would suffer? Like how many industries benefit from it? Not only you have construction companies, right? You have the security companies. You have all the materials that's in the prisons, whether it's pots, sinks, tables, chairs, locks, security systems, clothing, medical. That's a big portion of it. Telecommunication, Far right? Because remember, when you get locked up, you don't get locked up near your house. You may get arrested in Jersey, but you're going to be in Kansas. You may get arrested in Kansas, but you're going to be in Cali. And you know how I work with the phone call. Phone call is not 99 cents per minute or 25 cents per minute like you would do, like it used to be on a payphone. I've heard abuses where it's $30, $60 per minute to call a loved one. They know you're going to call, at least for a certain duration until, as time extends, communication declines.
I love how they use education for formalize the reason in a sense, because if you one thing and they use the right word, a hustle, that's the way everybody need to understand. So this whole concept of education, that's basically what it is. It's a hustle. And the most millionaires farm out of the educational institutions, the prison institutions, and the healthcare institutions. That's what all of these things have in common. But you notice what all of these things have in common is that they have a curriculum, right? Yeah. Where in a prison, there's a set curriculum where you have to follow to make sure that the prison running this mannerism, the healthcare structure, you're running at the same mannerism, the education system, that curriculum, you have to carry through that curriculum. So there's only the players of the game. Because most people, when they think about education system and they mention, say it now working. Yeah. Who are the first person them think about? Them think about the teachers. Yeah. Not overstanding say the teachers are just some look upon.
Teachers don't really have nothing to do in
them. Them not that much influence when you sit down and think about it.
There are a lot of people that really go in with trying to help the kids. But when they realize when they go in there and see the system so rotten, they get turned off, because it's just like, you can't, as an individual, you can't fight against the system. Listen, I've been a teacher, right? Teaching is probably the most draining thing that I've ever done. If I'm a progressive person, I'm a person that could deal with a lot of stuff, but it's just like, it's like the post office. It's like every day. You get what I'm saying? Every day. And what you have to give to be a good teacher is not sustainable. And that's the next thing about teaching. It's not a sustainable profession, at least in the inner city. I don't know about suburbs or some private school. I don't know about that. But to teach at an effective level in a inner city or whatever you want to call a tier 1 school, what's needed from you is not a sustainable effort. And I think that's one of the reasons the turnover is so much. Because it's a lot of different things that take place in that environment compared to a regular school, because there's more issues in that environment. So you're the teacher, you're the therapist, you're the counselor, you're the friend, you're the parent, you're the nutritionist. You know what I'm saying? You're all these things. And it's like, why are you just supposed to be there to teach? So how can you maintain all those hats?
And in truth and in fact still, if you think about a teacher supposed to have traits of all of these things, but what make it become so horrible is that the teacher become the main stable in regards to all of these things where you mentioned. To become a teacher, there is no form of personality test where you have to take or anything along that line, because it's more and which is what me find as the biggest flaw still, because when we are thinking about the development of youths can't come with just something that is written on paper. Just imagine you own a company and you see a whole bunch of resume. You start talk to people, interview people. What is the first thing you start look for in a employee for your organization? Is it just based off a formality? So all of these different things with the personality of a teacher have to play. It have an importance to play in how you develop you too.
But I think that goes back to the system working properly, because I haven't personally taken education classes at the collegiate level, right? So I'm speaking from an observation and what I've heard. That even seems flawed, because the theory that they teach doesn't apply to the classroom. And also, there's a component that you can't teach. Teaching is an art. Teaching is like music. No, serious fire. When you're teaching a class, it's literally a performance with different components.
And that's why I mentioned the personality test, man.
You have to
reach out to you.
Because me personally, and anyone who knows me as a teacher, please in the comment relate. If I wasn't the greatest person when it comes to the X's and O's, but I knew how to relate to the children and I knew how to motivate them. So what you notice is I would always get, say a kid didn't do work in another spot, he would do work with me because one, he felt that genuine connection of I really cared, and also that expectation. Now, if you're capable of doing it, we're going to do this work. Now, if you got a learning disability to a certain extent, where you can't do the work at all, that's a different conversation. But as long as you're capable to do this work, the expectation is to do this work at the highest level that you're able to do. Because that's what I expect out of you. I expect greatness out of you. And I try to tap into that and show you your greatness. And the kids relate to it. And it worked. You get what I'm saying? You have another person that knows everything about history and this and that, and it's not working because it's just not no connection. They can't relate the lesson to life. Because I had all these tactics I used to use with the teaching to make it as relevant as possible to them while they're still learning the material. We're not just there in La La Land, but it goes back to material. But I have to bring it all in. And that's just a skill set that you can learn. Dealing with different people, dealing with different temperaments. And that's the next thing too, man. Like a lot of these teachers scared of the students. And they like predators. So once they see you scared of them, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
So one, they see this man not scared of me, right? This man to take it there with me if need be. And he's there every day. So you just get respect.
See, and that's it there. Just even break it down on a different level, how the personality come in now and how this thing, because you see this whole concept of standardization, apparently education become this farm thing where when once you mention it, someone know the system will work perfectly. Just for tying about the topic, that's how I know the system will work perfectly, because once you mention education, what comes to everybody's mind is not the concept of knowledge or the concept of knowing.
Standards.
It's a standardization of, okay, what paper do you have? Okay, I have a high school diploma. All right, I've passed that first level. I move on now. I have an associate or that bachelor's degree. You move on in tiers. And that's how people view you in terms of what you know, what you can do. Not overstanding said, these type of paper don't have no form of realistic aspect of them when it relates to life. And then on top of this now, the people them start feeding to this, So when them feeding the whole concept of education being this paper and standardized thing now where them start doubt all themselves because remember, the more a person know and the more knowledgeable a person become, automatically when you are whatever you as a system give them are gonna realize it's a lie. And once them realize it's a lie, them are gonna start drifting from that.
Yeah.
But then if the people them don't know now and start follow your curriculum where you set and have move along your guideline, and then once they move along your guideline and realize, for example, you get a degree and him set himself say, set this degree that I've got set me apart from everybody else, which is now with no degree now, generally speaking, it's kind of like a thing where a lot of people have degree now, so it's so saturated. But generally speaking, it's separated from the person who don't have any. So now automatically input for himself in a different class, in a different bracket from that person now. And then the system now swoop in now and make him feel like, so, okay, him is no longer the same as him brother, him is no longer the same as him sister, meaning say it mission accomplished.
Far right. I don't want to cut your argument. Continue. You know, one of the coldest things I experienced when I graduated school, because the environment I was in, a lot of people didn't graduate school. So for you to graduate school now is this big thing, right? The coldest thing I experienced when I graduated school and realized that everything I learned won't help me make $1.
Sad.
No, it's cold because when college graduates are so delusional and they have an ego. If you go on the campus right now, especially if it's like a Ivy League school, because I walk around UPenn sometimes, UPenn, and my brother teaches up at Princeton. So we go around there and they just have this ego because they just believe that they're in a better position than everyone. Their future's set. They know more than everyone. They're ahead of the game. And it comes crushing. Well, some, they got links, right? If they're in that area, but a lot don't. And reality checks in because when you apply for that job and they say 2-3 years experience, it's like, I just graduated school. Or you think you're going to be making all this money and the only job you're getting is $30,000-$40,000 and it's not adding up. Because it's been beat into your head this whole time in regards to the school and the success. And it gets even more truthful when you start the job and you don't know how to do anything. You don't have any people skills. You don't have any social skills. You struggle with taking constructive criticism. You don't learn things as quick. And you can't deal with the pressure of demand and deadlines. Because in high school, you either didn't have to do work or you gave them work late. And some colleges are like that now because I hear the new hustle now with the colleges, parents calling people wild. Fire, the new thing at the college now, the trend, the parents calling the professor. Or the parents calling, I guess, the professor is superior. Complaining about the professor holding their child accountable for the basic thing. That's the new hustle now. And this is the next thing too, man. It's like when you get behind so early, that's the thing I learned too, man. The way the system is structured is that these children get behind so early. So after 2nd, 3rd grade, like you don't have the basic skills and they're moving. They're just passing you through fire. Maybe they'll keep you back, but like there's no remedial work or there's no thing because a lot of these environments are not conducive for education. And that's another thing I want to bring up too, which I believe is something's going on there from a legislative standpoint. I don't understand why disruptive forces are allowed to take away from the education of other children. So if you're in 1st grade and you have a kid in there that's off the hook, right? And, people try to blame the teacher and this and that, but a lot of times the teachers do all they can do. The kid is just off the hook and they're not getting any support from admin. Whoever's in that class with that child from 1st year to senior year has not gotten an education. So the question I ask is, why do you allow so many disruptive forces to stay in the school? Because you got to go through all these bells and whistles to try to get this child out. And that ties back into what I say, saying the system works purposely. Like they created a system from a legal standpoint to make sure these environments stay chaotic with disruptive forces so no learning takes place.
The status quo from it maintain itself it fueled them for benefit off of the whole status quo.
Because if you got a class with 30 kids, you got 2 kids in there disrupting the place, and they're constantly in there, and everything's done, and they come back in there. The other 28 children are not learning.
Mm-hmm.
And the ask, why do you allow that? Because the system works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing I want to say far right? This goes back to the university you were saying, is that a lot of these theories, these theorists, these academics, they need the dysfunction too, because they need something to write about.
Mm-hmm.
They don't teach. They don't go in the classroom. Because every book I've written by someone with all these theories, maybe they taught for a year or 2 years and they got up out of there. They still not in there. So why are you still not in the classroom?
Mm-hmm. Facts.
Because the hustle is basically to teach for as short of a period you can and go into admin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not no lean on me situation. You're not changing no school fire. It's just maintaining the system.
Politics, man.
Because once you try to change the school, they're going to get you up out of there.
Strictly politics.
Yeah, period. So due to the time, right, we got to cut the reasoning. But the main thing is, stop saying the school system is broken. The school system works perfectly.